Well, hi everybody, it's meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Normally this is the Joe and Joe show, but we are one Joe less tonight as Joe has a couple of nights off, so he'll be back with me on Monday. In the meantime, we are setting up for a winter storm, believe it or not. Here we are in the middle of November. One of the things that really struck me today was when I looked at the National Weather Service map, the mosaic map where you can see all the watches and warnings across the U.S. on weather.gov. When I looked at that map before and I saw I saw all these winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings that stretched from the Mississippi River all the way to the interior mid-Atlantic states and then on up into New England, you think we were looking at something that was going on at the middle or latter part of December. It's really pretty unusual to see something like this. And in other ways, for winter weather lovers, it almost feels like a sense of normalcy to have something like this, but it really isn't. When you look at the weather statistics in terms of accumulating snow, at least in and around the New York City area in November, particularly in the first 20 days of the month, you could probably count on your hand the number of times that it snowed since 1900. It's really rare. If it happens, it's usually toward the end of the month when you're getting close to getting into the winter season. Now, before we get to what's going on, I just want to just to give everybody a heads up. If you have an Android, if you have an Android for a mobile phone, I'm going to give you the Google Play link on the chat, and it's on the descriptor to this video. You can whoops, that is not it. Hold on, let me just get it again. I've been doing a lot today, so it's a little bit crazy. Okay, here's the link now to Google Play. Okay, so you can download my new weather app. It's absolutely free. You will get weather updates, my weather updates, posts from my website. You get them on the app. It loads very fast, very clean, doesn't cost you a dime. Again, it's for Androids, for Android. For iPhones, hopefully we will have it out sometime next week, and as soon as it is, I will let you know about it. So please do come on, and then of course I'd be very interested in what you think about it. So give it a check, and again, there's your link on Google Play. When we're done with this, go ahead and download it. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on tonight, because it is again pretty remarkable to see all of what's happening across the eastern part of the U.S. and how everything is kind of setting up for this winter storm. But you can see the U.S. loop on the lower corner here. Before I make it disappear, you've got two things that stand out. First off is all this tropical and subtropical moisture that's actually shooting up from the Pacific into the eastern Gulf and into the eastern part of the United States. But if you look on the western edge of that, right in the center of the picture, you can see the clouds are turning cyclonically. There is a very vigorous upper air disturbance there. There's actually a strong upper low. And we want to pay attention to that, because that actually may throw a bit of a wrinkle in the forecast for inland areas, I think, for some inland areas for Thursday night into Friday morning. And I'll explain that in just a second. But back to the radar. The radar is just loaded. I mean, this is a really impressive looking radar signature tonight, with a ton of rain throughout Alabama and Georgia. You can see it all streaming in out of the Gulf of Mexico. You're starting to move that precip into western North Carolina and into western Virginia, hitting the drier air, so it's having a little bit of a tough time, but you're going to start moving this into air where temperatures are below freezing, particularly in elevated areas. So this is where you have these winter storm warnings that are up from the western Carolina mountains and then on up through western Virginia. Back through Tennessee and Kentucky, you've got rain, and then it turns to snow on the northwestern edge of that. And where you see that hook, you can see how the echoes are rotating around in a counterclockwise fashion there. That's that upper low. And the snow's moving into St. Louis, where they're probably going to wind up with about a half a foot of snow out of this. The before I even do this, this is a really interesting feature that I found, but let's look at the temperatures right now because these are critical. And we are, if not now, in the next hour or two, the last spots that have not seen temperatures drop below 32 are going to see them drop below 32. We're down to most temperatures on Long Island now are below freezing. In the Hudson Valley, everybody's down in the upper 20s, and you start to get into some low 20s and some teens as you go north. And our air is actually draining straight down from eastern Canada, where we've got temperatures in the single digits and low teens up the St. Lawrence Valley and on back over toward Lake Huron. So all of this cold air around this high is just draining southward. And the 30s go, you see how the 30s and even temperatures near the freezing mark or at the freezing mark going all the way down into the western Carolina mountains and back through central and western Kentucky, southern Indiana, Illinois, and in southeastern Missouri, western Tennessee, all these areas that have gotten snow today, accumulating snow, and in some places on the order of about 3 to 6 inches. The cold air has really been, this has been a very, very strong push of cold air that has settled southward into the United States. One of the things that I found that I'm going to, wait till Joe gets back and he sees this, but I started getting into bringing up the actual surface maps, which you don't see anybody do anymore. And this one's great because it's not only interactive, but we can actually go back, I think, to, like, if I check the calendar on this, you can go back into the way back. How far back it was? Let me just take a look. I'm sorry. Let me take a look real back. They have in their archives weather maps going back to 1985. So, we get to anniversaries of storms. We can actually pull up the surface map to see what it looked like. And here's what we have tonight. So if you look down in Florida right now, this was as of 4 o'clock this afternoon. I'm going to see if we have a later map. And we do. This is the 7 o'clock plot now. And you've got south of this stationary frontal boundary where the wave that's going to move up the east coast is coming from. You've got very warm tropical conditions in central and south Florida. Dew points in the 70s, temperatures into the 80s this evening. But as soon as you jump north of that front, you start to see 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, and even some upper 20s as you get back into the colder air. And of course, the upper air system that's sitting in southeast Missouri, you have this sort of pulled back surface low. We call this an inverted trough. When you look at a standard cold front, when you look at the isobars, the winds on the left side are blowing from the northwest to southeast, and the winds on the right side are blowing from southwest to northeast. Well, an inverted trough just flipped that upside down. So to the right, the winds are coming in from the southeast, and on the left side, the winds are coming from the northeast. So this inverted trough and the frontal boundary will eventually settle up in the Carolinas. You can see the temperature differences in the Carolinas too, setting up with 40s and 30s as you go inland, and then just offshore at the buoys you're seeing temperatures up in the 60s. So somewhere in here you're going to wind up setting up this frontal boundary, and that wave is going to develop on it and find its way up the east coast. And of course, with this cold high sitting in western New York, we are dealing with our temperatures, which are quite chilly indeed. So you know what? We've got two things that we can look at here at this point. We can look at the new HRRR model, which we actually can take out to 31 hours, which will take us into tomorrow night. And this is at its starting point at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So at this point, we've got sleet and snow and probably some freezing rain down in northeastern Virginia, Maryland, and we're going to advance it northeastward. Snow begins to move northward through Pennsylvania. It's rain, mostly rain in New Jersey, at least according to the HRRR. And when you get that intensity, you're going to get that one burst of intensity late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. This is at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, where it's mostly snow in northern New Jersey and in the Hudson Valley. Looks like mostly rain on Long Island until you really get that strong lift involved. And by about 5 o'clock, at least on the HRRR, it does. You see the darker blues here. This is where you could wind up with a really quick burst of heavy snow out of this. So the HRRR at least is indicating that through the evening commute, as you go from New York City north, it's going to be rough. And there's some sleet there that you see across many of the counties in northern New Jersey and back through Pennsylvania. After that, this is where it gets problematic. And we're going to rely on the new NAM to take a look and see what it does with it. But that freezing line at 10 o'clock is still sitting very close to the Bronx-Westchester line, if you take this literally. Much of the northwestern counties of New Jersey, even into northeastern New Jersey, getting sleet. Same for northeastern Pennsylvania, on into southwestern Connecticut. That 32-degree line is going to struggle. We are also going to probably see the precip slow down and stop for a few hours until the upper air storm that we're dealing with comes eastward. And you'll notice the shape here, that comma shape. There's going to be some back edge precip from this low. Most times we wind up not seeing it, but because of how this upper low is tracking, I'm thinking that there's a shot here that we could have some complications in some inland areas. Not the coast, but some inland areas. Northwest New Jersey, northeastern PA, on up into the Hudson Valley, maybe into northwestern Connecticut, could see precip stay as sleet or freezing rain through a good chunk of the night, and then maybe go back to a burst of snow as the upper air system goes by. So we can take a look at the NAM and see what the NAM does. This is where the NAM should do really well, and did really well last winter. So let's see if it follows that form. We are now at 10 o'clock in the morning. So it looks like it's at least a little bit slower than the HRRR. But by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that precip has rapidly moved northeastward. And on the NAM at least, it has it cold enough where it's actually mixed to snow from 195 northward. And now we're at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. That darker blue over the northern half of New Jersey and into western Long Island. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So you look at this and you got to wonder whether New York City may be right on the edge of where the southern edge of where what could be an east-west band of moderate to heavy snow that develops out of this tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. Whoever gets into that burst is going to put down a quick couple of inches. And then we run into the same issues here. The changeover to sleet. You do get that dry slot. Now let's see how the NAM handles this idea that I'm thinking of with this upper low. And you see it here. This is Friday morning. So it actually does change it back in eastern Pennsylvania for a brief time, northern New Jersey, and into the Hudson Valley before the low pulls away. This is not going to have impact on coastal areas or Long Island. It may mean for a burst of rain when that upper air system goes by, and it might briefly rain heavy. The problem for the coasts will be wind and rain, maybe on the order of 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches, perhaps a bit higher than that in some places. So you see the NAM's idea here. And the European today was the one that was most aggressive with this. And this is because the European really kept this upper air system energized. If you look at what happens, these are the temperatures at about 5,000 feet. So this is Friday morning on the European. And you can see that all of a sudden, as that upper air feature goes by, all the temperatures in the western two-thirds of New Jersey at that level are all below freezing. Same for the Hudson Valley as you get up toward and north of Route 84. So we're going to want to watch this. And here's how it looks like on the upper air. Okay, so you watch that. Here's that. You see that upper low that's down through Arkansas and how it's very, very vigorous here. It does weaken as it moves northeastward, but there's still this energy that comes right on top of us. And when you see things like this, it's usually on the northwestern side of that upper low that you wind up getting what we call a comma head, and under that you could get an area of heavy precip. So a little bit of dynamic cooling, some convective nature to all of this, and you never know. So I'm thinking you got to watch the inland spots in western New Jersey, northeastern PA, and on up into the Catskills and into the lower Hudson Valley. You know, once you get up from 84 northward in that zone into northwestern Connecticut, where we could see things being a bit problematic. I'm going to go back to the NAM real quick. I have a little bit of time here, so that's good. We can look at the positive snow growth map, because I think that's the one that really has value here. Actually is quite bullish. It's supposed to take into account melting and sleet and everything else, but if you want to be conservative, you could say that the brighter blues is the southern edge of 2 inches or so, and that's just to about New York City on the NAM. And then you get into the purples, you could say that's maybe where the 4-inch plus amounts are, and those are up to the north and west. So the NAM certainly is suggestive that we could wind up with that burst of accumulating snow. I'm going to pull up the numerical numbers here just to look at them real quick. Joe usually pulls these up off camera, but he's not here. So I'm just looking at the atmosphere when I'm reading some of these numbers. These basically tell us how cold the atmosphere is or isn't, and how much moisture there is. The NAM actually gives us almost 3/4 of an inch of liquid between 1 o'clock in the afternoon and 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. This is at LaGuardia, and it's showing some very strong vertical motion, so there will be some dynamic cooling out of this. Just north, you could probably make an argument that just north and west of there, where you know it will be colder, if you cut that in half, that says that somebody gets a burst of 2 to 3 inches of accumulating snow before it changes over to sleet. So very interesting day ahead. As I mentioned yesterday, we have not really looked at snow in the forecast since back last March. So we're all a bit rusty when it comes to this sort of stuff right now. So we'll see how the forecast holds up. I feel, a moderate amount of confidence at this point that what I have on my maps that you could see on my website, or that you could see on the app if you've got an Android device, or if you're on Patreon, you know what I'm going for. Which is a coating to 1 inch or 2 along the coast, and maybe 2 to 4 inches further inland as you go north and west. So I'm feeling a moderate degree of confidence. Looks like the NAM might have, if you want to make an argument, you could say that as a whole it might have been just a touch colder than the prior run. But I think at this point it's just time. It's time to just let to roll the dice and let it all play out. I would not be shocked when we're sitting here on Friday and looking at this. It wouldn't shock me to find out that there were upside surprises in some places, especially in inland areas. So again, if you got an Android device, if you're joining late, I have an app on Google Play. It's absolutely free. I just put the link up there for you. You can download it and enjoy it. I hope you like it, and I'd appreciate your commentary. Danny Nankumar, has November ever gotten snow in New York City, or is this a rare occurrence? It's unusual, but not unheard of. It's probably less unheard of in the second half than in the first half, but it is, it's unusual. You look back at November's, Central Park has only gotten 1 inch of accumulation during the month of November 6 times since 1960. So basically once every 10 years we wind up with a snowfall. Frank LaSalandra, who's apparently weather forecast shopping, because he's saying AccuWeather says only a coating for Stamford, and I'm just by Route 15. If you're up by 15 or just north of Route 15, I think you're going to get more than a coating. If you get into the burst, one of the variables here is the, and I was just teasing about the shopping, by the way. One of the variables here is the fact that you've got this wind off the warm ocean. So, and it has been November. Jason Kaplan, Jersey coast, no snow. Yeah, it's too warm. I think, you could see some sleet mixed in as you go away from the bay and toward the parkway. But look, if you wind up getting snow east of the Parkway out of this, all right, then I would be really worried for places like New York City and Long Island with the burst of snow coming up. That's, that would be an indicator. If I get a phone call tomorrow from Alan Casper telling me he's got ice pellets on the Jersey Shore, then I know that my forecast probably needs to be nudged up a little bit. But I would be shocked. Jason, gales tomorrow night along the New Jersey immediate coast. I think you'll probably see some gusts of 40 to 50. Not impossible, just right along the immediate coast. I don't know that the winds really spread too far inland, though. Sleet at Newark at 7 p.m. It might still be ice. It might still be sleeting at Newark at 7 o'clock. Jason, I wouldn't be shocked. Robin Turkle, you have a house full of cookies. All invited. Oh, nice. Put them in a package and mail them out to us over here. We'll take them. Let's see. Daniel Kirby, keep me abreast of what you get down there in the Blue Ridge Mountains, by the way. I'm going to be really curious to see, what winds up in your neck of the woods. They wore out Brining and Passaic County. A good idea for the counties up to the north and west of New York City, particularly western Passaic, Sussex, Warren, Morris, Somerset counties, Hunterdon County. You've got a risk there that the temperatures may have a really tough time getting above 32. And that's going to, create what could be a bit of an icing problem there for the overnight. And that also holds probably for Putnam and Dutchess County and northern Rockland, maybe even more than just northern Rockland, and on up into Orange and Sullivan counties. Dutchess and Ulster County, by the way, have a winter storm watch up. We've got winter weather advisories everywhere else. But elevation's going to play a key here, also for the inland areas, especially later Thursday night into Friday morning. If my idea of the upper low coming eastward winds up working out. Gloria Rangot, thank you for the nice review. She has the app on my Android, and she says it's good. Ryan Ford, do I think the ocean influence decreases further north and west of New York City? You go to some degree, but that warm air is going to wind up trying to move northward, but at some point it does come to a grinding halt. The question is it north of 287 or is it north of Route 84? And again, for New Jersey, a risk area west of 287 where temperatures may have a tough time getting above 32. Dominic Braco, up in Sussex County, beware. It's snow to sleet to freezing rain to sleet and maybe back to snow. No problems, by the way, for the morning commute. For Thursday morning's commute, no problem. The one big issue for tomorrow is it's not really how much. If this happened in the middle of winter after several snow events, you get a couple of inches to maybe 6 inches and you kind of deal with it. Okay. But remember, tomorrow's even if it's a coating to an inch, even if it's just a coating, places that get, if the roads wind up, some roads get a coating of snow in a burst of heavy snow. No one's driven in snow in the last 6 or 7 months. Everybody's forgotten how. So I guarantee you that there will be a slew of accidents on the roadways, and the traffic tomorrow night could be, pretty ridiculous. Bear that in mind. So prepare accordingly. The morning commute, though, is not a problem. And Jason, yes, the first storm is always a mess, and you add in the sleet. Middletown, probably, David, figure around 1 o'clock or so. Junior, any concerns for icing tomorrow night around the city or too warm? I think it'll be too warm where you are and in and around New York City and Newark. I think you got to go north and west of there. You start getting further west to about 287. Central Somerset County on westward, Morris County. From there westward, I think that's where you could wind up really struggling to change it over to just plain rain. The cold air winds up getting trapped, especially in some of the valley areas, and it will be problematic. All right, so look, let's call it a night. So we saw the new NAM, we saw the new HRRR. At this point, let's just roll the ball, and get this thing going. So we'll be back. We'll be here tomorrow. Those of you who are on Patreon, there will be a morning live stream, so you can check that out on my Patreon platform. And if you'd like to join that, there's a link that I have just put up. So please do consider. And again, as I said earlier, if you've got an Android device, go ahead and download my free weather app, the Jostradamus weather app, on Google Play, and hopefully we'll get it out on Apple and on the iPhone for sometime next week. I will be coming up at the top of the hour on all three FiOS's news channels: FiOS 1 News Long Island, FiOS 1 News New Jersey, and FiOS 1 News Lower Hudson Valley. We have Jeff Banson and I think Brian Fitzgerald back tomorrow morning for morning coverage to get you out the door. Brittany Borer and Addison Green will carry you through on the midday hours as the storm gets underway. And guess who's going to be here by himself tomorrow night for the evening commute? So you could be sure to tune in on FiOS 1 News for all the latest on the weather and the traffic situation tomorrow night, which is going to be very, very difficult. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.